Let's go ahead and go. For those of you in the UK, I hope somebody is translating this for you. I will do my best to utilize proper English when I speak, and because I'm an American, don't get your hopes up too high. Um, I've been turning about 8 years now, and the whole thing kind of started out. I wasn't a woodworker. My dad wasn't a woodworker. Nobody in my family were woodworkers. Um, we weren't crafty or handy people in general, and it just kind of happened literally because I was in a car accident and I hit my head and got a little concussion and ended up with something that they call post-concussion syndrome. And the short version of that is like it's a audio and visual feedback loop inside your head all the time, and it was unbearable. It was truly ungodly. It was one of the worst experiences I've ever had. And after trying various things and medical treatments and whatnot, the doctors are like, you just have to give it time. You're looking at about 18 months recovery from this. But it was brutal, and I could not function well. I was a creative. I was a musician. I was a retail florist, had been for 20 some odd years at that point. I think about 20 years at that point. And my creativity was basically suppressed or turned off or disconnected in total. And we figured out that if I had a hobby of some kind that I could focus on something. And I tried various things and kind of ended up on fly tying and fly fishing, because for those of you who have done any fly tying, you need to really focus on this little bitty hook and this little bitty thread to do your flies. And having that singular focus allowed me to uh, gain some control over the madness in my head, which allowed me to be comfortable and let the healing process happen. But I got to a point where if you're not fishing, you're not wasting a lot of flies. So all of my fly boxes are still currently full, and I got bored. So I was making my wife really frustrated, and she walked by one day and said, "All right, we're going on vacation. We're going to this place called the John C. Campbell Folk School. It's in North Carolina, out in the mountains, out in the woods." Flop down a catalog, a class schedule, and said, pick a class, because you go there, you take a class, you spend a week, and you learn something. So my first thought on the inside was, I don't want to go there. That's a folk school. I'm not folksy. I don't do folk stuff. I'm not crafty. I'm not woodworky. It's not my thing. But happy wife, happy life. So I picked a class, and it just happened to be wood turning. It was just a intro to green wood turning, raw beginner class. Went there, um, walked in. I was having a bad day, a bad week. It'd been brutal, lots of headaches. And the instructor went through some basics on the machines and safety and basic tools. And then he said, all right, we're going to go around. We're going to put a piece of wood on your lathes, turn on your machines, run at a low rate of speed, grab a couple of tools, take a couple of cuts, and just see what happens. And I'm thinking, we've spent a lot of money on this trip. I'll give it a shot, but this is stupid. I'm not going to like it. I'm going to go take a nap for the rest of the week, but I'll try. And I know this isn't how it really happened, but the way I remember it is the minute that first tool touched the wood, my head stopped hurting, the clouds parted, the skies opened up, angels started singing, and for the first time in about a year, I felt really good up in my head. And it was that singular focus that I was looking for, but something else happened. And then by the time that week was over, I had a really old and beat up Craftsman single tube lathe. I could only turn pens on a mandrel because the tailstock didn't line up with the headstock. It was a mess. I bought some cheap Harbor Freight tools. If you don't know Harbor Freight tools, the quality is way down here. And but they did what I needed them to do. And I kind of struggled through that first year on my own, trying different things and watching YouTube and learning about Facebook groups and whatnot. But then all of a sudden, a year's gone by, and wife's asking what I want to do for vacation that second year, and it's like, "Hey, let's see if we can find a class at John C. Campbell Folk School. Let's go back. Let's see if we can if I can up my game." And I picked a class. I was being taught by Kirk DeHeer, who is a pretty high level wood turner out of Utah. And went out there, really enjoyed the class. But the best thing that happened that second year was Kirk kind of took me under his wing. He saw something that I wasn't seeing. I don't know if it was with my skill or my desire or whatever, but he started really encouraging me, which was neat. That I didn't know anybody in St. Louis that was a wood turner. I didn't know wood turning clubs existed at that point. But as soon as we got home from that second week, I not only had a friend, but I had a mentor, somebody that I could call anytime I had a question. I knew about American Association of Wood Turners. I knew that at that point I'd done enough research. I'd actually joined the association, and I knew there was a local club here in the Metro St. Louis area, and we joined that right away. And then it's just been, just like a rocket ship blasting off. It's just been nonstop ever since. So in 8 years, I've gone from a raw beginner who didn't know anything about anything, wood turning, woodworking at all. I didn't know, to somebody who is, I run a wood turning supply business, the Walnut Log, here in the States. So www.thewalnutlog.com. I am teaching. I teach at an art school here in St. Louis. Obviously, because of COVID distancing, the school is closed. There's not a lot going on, but I've been doing a lot of online stuff again. I'm a member of the Lucid Woodturners. I'm doing the online demos. I do a free Facebook Live every Wednesday afternoon. And it's geared more toward beginners and low-level intermediates, but I'm trying to fill in a gap that I'm seeing with education on Facebook. I'm trying to help out where I can. So that's a lot of fun. But then I'm also doing the live remote full-on demos to clubs around the country. I am set for one in the UK, 16th, 17th, or 18th of June. I've got it written down, but I don't remember. So if Roger or Phoebe is viewing, you're covered. It's all right. But it gives me the opportunity to give back what I'm able to teach, because of all the people that took the time to teach me. I'm in a position where I can share just like they were sharing with me, and that's the coolest thing. I think not only is there an unlimited amount of things for me to learn and do, because I do get bored easy. But I love sharing. I love teaching, and I was never somebody that wanted to teach anybody anything. Several years ago, I really didn't like people overly much anyway. Y'all just needed to stay away from me. But I realized through wood turning that almost every wood turner I have ever come in contact with, they're always willing to share or talk or whatever. It's not just a community. It really is family. So there's a point on here, on the talking point sheet about who inspires you. And yeah, Richard Raffin, Mike Mahoney, Glenn Lucas, all of the greats that came before us, but also every single one of you watching. You guys inspire me because I do what I do. Okay. And you guys are doing stuff that I don't do. You're gonna have a different style or design or technique or something. There's always something that somebody else can teach me, and that's what I am really hungry for, is that I want to learn. I want to be able to continue to learn while I'm also teaching. So you guys inspire me. Keep doing what you do. I love watching posts and going through Facebook and whatnot and doing stuff like this because it's a lot of fun. Yeah, and it's just really kind of cool. Let's see. So we covered how long, learn and inspire. What do I like to turn? I'm a bolt turner. Boxes are fun, but deep down inside, I love turning bowls. The bowl form is probably, in my opinion, the bowl form is probably one of the things that is truly uniquely essential for that initial evolution of modern humans. That it's designed to fit in the hand. It does what we need it to do, whether to carry things from, or take things to, or to give or to receive, to eat from, to store things in. It is the perfect element to elevate a primitive form into what we see ourselves as today. And I find a really strong connection with that bowl form. So trying to evolve and work with the form and things of that nature, that's kind of where I'm at right now. Will that be my forever focus? I have no idea. The skew scares me. I will fully admit that. But I'm a ball turner, so it doesn't matter because I don't need it. It's just that's what I prefer to do. Now I'm also an artist, so I've been evolving into more conceptual pieces, things that have that require a little more thought to get around. Not something you're just going to put salad in. That these are a little bit more. A little bit more conceptual, and I'm having a lot of fun exploring that. I don't know if I will ever really be a producing artist on that level, but I'm having fun exploring it right now. And I do apologize. It is unbelievably hot and humid in St. Louis, and I don't have air conditioning installed in my shop. I also don't have any hair to catch the sweat as it runs in rivulets down my face. So uh, I'm not weeping. Trust me, I'm sweating profusely. It's just ridiculous. Let's see, what else? What other techniques do I like to combine with turning? I do a little metal work. I do. Um, I'm starting to explore some flat work. Um, I like playing. The focus of I had an artist residency last year, and the focus of that artist residency was to experiment with products that are not normally associated with wood turning in order to create texture and embellishment. Because that's really my big thing. I like color, I like texture, I like embellishment, and to be able to move beyond just taking a piece of wood and turning a form and carving things. I wanted to start exploring, well, what else can I do? What else can I use? What else is out there that's available to me, and what kind of cool effects can I get? So playing with artist products and other things, other ways of creating texture or something, because I realized actually quite recently after taking a drawing class that and also because of something that Michael Hasseluk actually said to me during a class that I was taking. We were working on a technique, and he kept saying, "Okay, now you need to do some carving on that. You need to do some carving." Like, Mike, I don't know how to carve. I'm not a carver. I don't know how to carve. And he looked at me and he said, "I've seen your work. You know how to carve." I was like, "No, I know how to texture." And he just smiled and he said, "What do you think carving is?" Oh, it's texture. It's creating a texture. So with that one statement, I was able to make that next step that I needed to move from, okay, I'm just a texturing person, to carving is actually a way to create a texture. So why, if I know how to texture, I guess I really do know how to carve, at least somewhat, and I'm not talking face, physically accurate face things or anything. I'm just talking about more embellishing techniques. But it changed the way I thought about things, and that was really, really fun. So trying to incorporate these other tools and techniques is really a lot of fun. Um, let's see, do I convert my own timber or do I buy my blanks? Yes. Sometimes it depends on what I'm doing. If I'm doing one of my color pieces, like the Morocco Blue series that I do, if I'm doing one of my color pieces, I need to start with a kiln-dried piece of wood. It needs to be as dry as possible, and I don't have the space or the patience to store any type of timber in my own shop long enough for it to dry so that I can do my color techniques. So on stuff like that, I will go out. We've got several wood supply shops, and I'll go out and I'll just start with kiln-dried maple blanks, just like that. Oh, and the rain starts, of course. So yeah, I will buy my wood. I will also process logs. Is when we do the tour. There's some logs that need to be processed that I will get to eventually. So yeah, I work both directions. All wood is good. Wood-free wood is better, but life is too short to turn pine. And I saw that there was a question in the website. Alan Alan and Jane wanted to know if I have a website. Yes, it is jeffhornung.com. That's my artist page. So just the spelling of my name is on my Zoom screen. It's www.jeffhornung.com, and that'll take you to my artist page directly. You also go to thewalnutlog.com and buy stuff if you are in the United States. Let's see, what else? What's next? Do I teach your demo? Yes. So if you're in a wood turning club and you're looking for somebody, especially somebody that's capable of doing live remote demos, let me know, because I'll be happy to do that. I've been with the Lucid Wood Turning program for a little over a year, and I had to kind of put that on the back burner because I do a lot of physical trade shows as well. And when I'm on the road, obviously I can't demo from my shop. So my demoing has picked up recently because all shows are canceled. So yes, I can demo. If the student actually just has a cell phone and an internet connection or whatever, we can do a one-on-one session as well. Let's see, next question is this full-time occupation? Yeah, most of my work is selling supplies through the walnutlog.com here in the States. I sell Hampshire Sheen and Yorkshire Grit and Mylands finishing products. UK products are awesome. I'm also a Nova Woodworking dealer, a Harvey dealer. I sell a wide variety of things, and but I've been doing this full time for a little over 4 years now. Left the floral industry at 24 years. It was really more being forced out due to allergies and my I'm right. Saw that I was muted, saw that I'm unmuted. So I'm just going to keep on rolling here if I can. My wife allowed me to do this full time, to pursue it, to see if it would really work. And it really did. It really did start working properly right away. So while I'm not making an enormous amount of money, I'm making enough to contribute to the house. And every year we're getting a little bit better. I was on track the first quarter to have a really good start to the year. Virus hit, shows have canceled, but all of the bills from that first quarter show series have been paid, and I'm all right. I didn't make anywhere near as much as I wanted to, but it's okay, and I'm going to continue. So I was already working from home. The business is a home-based business, and it's just kind of the way it worked out. So we're doing all right. Let's see, where do I sell my work? Online on my personal artist website, jeffhornung.com, and I'm in a couple of galleries local to the St. Louis metro area. One of them is the Craft Alliance School of Art and Design gallery shop, and you can go to craftalliance.com, or no, craftalliance.org, because it's a not-for-profit organization, but they do have that retail shop to support the school as well, and some of my items are for sale there. And if you ever come into town, if we ever are able to have people come into town again, we'll go down and you can see my stuff in person at the school. Let's see, where would I like my training to go in the future? I just want to keep learning. I want to keep learning. I want to keep turning. I want to keep exploring. I want to keep teaching. I love teaching. Again, I cannot stress to you how not teaching a person I used to ever be. That it's just one of those things where I didn't ever want to be a teacher, and now that's all I really want to do is I want to teach. But I like exploring, and I like being able to go and take classes with other turners to find out what they're doing. Maybe even if it's something that I'm probably not going to incorporate in my own work, I'm going to get something out of everything that I see. That there's always going to be something that I can learn, and yeah, I think it could be a really cool thing just to keep going in the direction that I'm going. Would I like to have a full-on school like Nick Agar does? I'd love that. Is it ever going to happen? I have no idea, but that would be really, really cool to do. And there's some opportunities that I'm looking at right now. I'm currently set to be a lead demonstrator at the SWAT Symposium in August. Hopefully that will go through. And then the following week after SWAT, I'm also set for my first full week teaching at John C. Campbell Folk School. and that was being a lead demonstrator at SWAT is an honor. But being able to teach my own class at the folk school, that was actually a bucket list goal. That was at the top, that I realized early on that was something I really wanted to get to. It happened sooner than I was expecting, but I'm not complaining. And again, hopefully things settle down with the virus and we're able to start easing up a little bit, and the class and the symposium will all be able to move forward and happen, because that's, for me, that's just going to be the icing on the cake for my career at that point. And then I have to go out and figure out, all right, what's my next goal? I have no idea. Kind of, it's like I accomplished the big one, and it's like, oh crap, now I need to figure out something else that I want to do as a long-term thing. So let's go into the tour. I've got a camera set up. It's actually my cell phone, and we will wander around. Click over to there. All right, so there is my computer station, and I've got a big monitor up above. I've got a really nice speaker system on that, and normally, in addition to being able to see myself there, depending on the machine that I'm working on, I can run an overhead shot, I can run a down the lathe shot, and now I can also run a mobile shot or utilize my cell phone as a secondary camera, or an additional camera. So I'm currently up to 4 cameras and pretty decent audio, and it seems to be working really well. Let's actually start. We're gonna start on the outside because the rain stopped. There's there's my wife's grocery getter. There's the business truck machine, and here's the shop upgrade that I did yesterday. I've got a pair of cabinets here. One is facing that way, one is facing the side, and I put up some shiplap that I had in order to display some of my vintage saws in a much more artistic manner. And while I like collecting old tools, really don't know how to use them well, so having them up on a wall is a good thing. And there's primary wood storage, some other vintage hand planes that I like. And moving around, coming in, one of the next big upgrades is I'm going to finish installing LEDs. So those arrived recently. I've got spindle sander. I've got a metal lathe that I'm learning how to use. I've got my sanding cabinet there. That's going to be on heavy duty drawer slides so that it can be pulled out as needed. Chainsaws and general tools are down on the bottom. Next to there, we've got the Nova Voyager DVR drill press. It's a column drill or a pillar drill, depending on what you like to call them. Fantastic piece of kit. I really enjoy working with that machine. Sharpening station is next. Standard bench grinder, Wolverine, my Tormek. Right there, I do prefer the diamond wheels when I'm working on turning tools. So that's my primary. It's my primary sharpening. Bandsaw is next to that. It's an older Jet 1 horse. Does the job that I need it to do. I recently upgraded my tensioning system, and actually seeing that needs to be untensioned or detensioned, but that hasn't been there very long. And we recently closed in this wall, added some overhead lumber storage, new storm door, new side door. That's all new. And then we move into the old section. That's actually the door into the kitchen. If Glenn is watching, he's familiar with that door. Oh, Paula McLean. Paula McLean wrote me a really nice poem about a story that I posted regarding the walnut log and where the business name came from. I'll tell you about that when we're done with the tour. All right, so there's clamp row, the wife's scroll saw. This has all been positioned here recently, so that still needs to be dialed in. Over there is my metal top metalworking bench. storage below. Tabletop drill press. If you're in the area and you want to buy it from me, I'm selling it cheap. General storage, and my Nova Galaxy, which is accessed and worked from on this side. Next to that, nice little rolly cart with wood storage, trash receptacle. Moving closer into my personal workspace, my preferred workspace, I've got my my regular Soberg's workbench. Yes, I could have built one myself. No, I'm not handy when it comes to flat work. Gratuitous product shot over here. We're right next to the computer. All right. So right next to the computer is my Harvey T40, brilliant machine, very, very strong, very fast, very quiet. It's only got a 14-inch swing, 24-inch between centers. I'm trying to justify the purchase of the big brother, the T60, which is going to be a monster, but I haven't quite talked myself into spending that money. And wood storage below, as always. Next to that is where I do most of my camera work, simply because that was the place where I was able to quickly get cameras installed immediately, and that's my Powermatic 3520B. I'm not a Powermatic dealer. This just happens to be, this is the first full-size machine I purchased, and I learned on a B, and I'm going to keep it until I can't keep it any longer. There's the overhead camera. There's the long shot camera. The Powermatic and the Galaxy kind of face each other. Works out nice. Dust extraction plumbing is mostly overhead, but obviously not finished. It's all being modified. Again, the shop is in transition. My dust collector is over there. It's a Jet 1 horse. So nice. Got some logo placement. Sorry about that. Just some pieces that I keep up top. Storage cabinets. If Rebecca's watching, that's her sticker. Anyway, my chucks live in there. I think I'm up to about 20 right now. So one on the machine. I've got several in there. I've got more in there. I have student chucks, 4 student chucks on the shelf over there. Brand new Nova Titan 3 still in the box. Yes, I'm a bad person, but whatever. Just my personal working tools. Carter & Son tool vendor, because I like the steel the best. That's what I prefer. So I decided I'd start selling them. I'm also a Carter products vendor, and I started carrying their carbides as well. But wide range of tools. I've tried a bunch of stuff. My favorite is Carter & Son M42. It's what I prefer, but there's lots of good tool manufacturers out there. And yeah, just try as many as you can, and then you make the decision on what you like best. This is just what I happen to like best. Safety, I've got a Trend Air Shield Pro. I've got a Uvex Bionic. I've got student shields all over the place. This face is the only face I have to work with for the rest of my life, so I got to take care of it. There is my additional air conditioning 2-foot wide fan. And let's see, moving across, I've got my drum sander right there. This is the front side of that big wood rack that we saw at the beginning. And then we've got the brand new Harvey C230 cabinet saw. That's actually quite a nice piece of kit. Very powerful. It can be run 1 horsepower like I have it set now, or it could be rewired for 220, and you could get the full 2 horsepower out of it, and it does a really nice job. But let's zoom in on some of my pieces. Obviously Morocco blue, that's my current signature style, I would say. And Morocco Sunset evolved from there. But I also do things, I really like the reactive metallic paint, and that's something else I like playing with. So this is just a maple bowl demo piece, but just a fun embellishing technique. I started working with carving. This is actually inspired by a bronze bowl found in Scotland that they dated back to the early 1600s. Just a round bottom vessel with ring handles, and those are carved. They're not glued on later. So it's one solid piece of maple that I have turned, carved the handles, faceted the surface, and done the embellishment on. And then when we get into the more conceptual stuff, this piece is actually called On the Inside, and this is a physical representation of kind of what it felt like inside my head. Then on the outside, everything was nice, it was pleasant, but on the inside, it was full of angry tension. And so I've got some nails and some artist gesso for texture and some airbrushing technique. And when this is displayed, I prefer it to be at about eye level, and I want people to come up and pick it up because I want them to get that shock. But that is a much better, much easier for people to understand what it felt like inside my head while I was healing from that car accident. And then this one is called The Road to Recovery, and it's about 24 inches tall. It has a plywood bowl form, and has been impaled on an Ipe cone, but it also has the reactive metallic paint and nails. So this is just kind of my representation, showing that the road to recovery is not, it's not a linear journey. There's no real defined starting point. There's no hard and fast ending point. It's a process, it's an evolution, and because of that, sometimes that road to recovery, sometimes that road to recovery is actually as bad as, if not worse than, the initial incident. And so when people would say to me, "Well, at least you're on the road to recovery," it was unreal how much badness, I guess, was going on inside of my head while I was trying to recover. And I wanted to get that out in kind of a sculptural form. Um, that's kind of where that piece came from. Anyway, so I guess, we're looking at about 15, 18 more minutes. That's really the tour. I'm in a very small 2-car garage, or garage, as you guys say over there. And but I've put things in position that allow me to get my work done. They will also allow me to have at least 2 to 3 students in here. I do own 2 more lathes. They're currently stored off-site. I have a Nova Saturn, which is a 1624 machine, and I've got a record power. I honestly don't know what the model is. It kind of ended up in my possession after AAW last year, and since I really don't have the room for it, it's currently in storage, but I have it if I need it, and that's kind of cool. Up to just a couple of days ago, I also had my own Nova Comet 2, and that was sold recently. But because I'm a Nova dealer, if I need one, I'll just buy myself another one at some point. Some say I have a problem. I say I have a lot of opportunities and options. Anyway, so let's, Pat, I guess let's go ahead and open it up to questions if anybody has ones.
There's no real questions, Jeff, that haven't been covered internally there with people answering things, which are all facts linked to your website. Those things have been put up there. There's a lot of knowledgeable people on here. We'll talk about the hackers at the end of this, okay? There's just about the different products you're using, just internal discussions and whatever. Product placement I will be having a word with you about.
That's fine. I have no idea how that happened. It must have been one of those darn hackers. Darn hackers.
Yeah, lots of praise, Jeff, about your journey into wood turning, and your inspiration and the way it worked in one thing and another. So that was really interesting to hear. So thanks for sharing that. That's in-depth stuff. Yeah. So could he explain his turning of the bowl with the handles?
Yeah, it's actually not that hard. Getting the proportions right. is the hardest part, because all this is, it's a bowl, standard round bottom bowl form, thin turned, that has a really big bead on it to begin with. Okay, but getting the bead big enough in relationship to the size of the vessel that you're doing, and leaving enough material that you can cut away and carve away your handles. It's a tricky part. So I like to tell people, if you know how to turn a bowl, if you know how to turn a bead, you can do this. And it's technical. It's not difficult. But that's all it is. It's a round bottom bowl with a great big monstrous bead on the outside, and dialing in your proportions. It's the hardest part of the whole thing. And unfortunately, that one just takes practice. Let's see, Carter Tools. Carter Tools only available in the U.S. I honestly don't know. I don't know if they ship. I don't know if they ship outside of the U.S.
They
or if
do.
they have any vendors.
You can get them here in Ireland, but you buy from America,
Okay.
Jeff. Yeah.
Okay.
Somebody just said tool posts in the UK, so yes, they're there
Okay.
as well. In Ireland, I know we have to bring everything in, so bar the basics.
Yep.
Yeah, that's the questions. You were kind of covering them very well, Jeff. It was a very concise there, all
Thank
the
you.
information. So if you have anything further to add there, or if anybody got questions there, please put them in
Well,
relation to.
Patrick said he loves how I classify this as a small workshop. I'm a big guy. I'm not tall. I'm broad in a circular manner, and I require I require a lot more space than a lot of people, just to be able to move in and out and around. And when you start cramming 3 full-size lathes plus a bandsaw, a scroll saw, a drill press, and a sharpening station, and all the other crap that I got in here, you start ending up with not a lot of room. Yeah, everything is bigger in America, including me. But because I've always been in what I consider a small space, and I started out in just a corner of the garage space here. Um, we don't park the cars inside. The cars live outside. It is what it is. But the shop has been an evolution since I started this, and I'm really good about making things work. You guys remember the game, little square game that you would hold, and it had a bunch of squares, either with numbers or a pattern or something, and there was only one open space, that you had to move these little squares around with your thumb, and there was only one space to do it. Well, I kind of see my shop as that little game with the squares, and that one empty square is full of shavings and sawdust and a couple of things in boxes that I just had to drop there. So it's been an interesting process, but I'm really happy with the way things are going. The wall behind me needs to be, this side needs to be finish insulated and closed. We're going to beef up the electric. I think we're actually going to put a sub panel out here. So time and money, that's the only delay. But hopefully after we get the insulation done and the electric modified, I can actually get some air conditioning out here. Like I said when we started, it's 81 Fahrenheit in the shop right now, and the humidity is unbelievably high, and I'm just dying. Normally I'd have one of the big fans on as well as this little guy, but it'll be blowing right into my microphone. Let's see, David asked something about the paintwork on the platter on the shelf. Oh yeah, hold that thought. Let me wander over here. It's also dusty, so let's clean that off real quick. David, are you talking about this one? It's just an airbrush sunset or sunrise with some stencil work. I had a relatively elaborate stencil, just sheaves of cattail, and used that. Oh, sorry, somebody's dialing in. I thought I had that on silence. Sheaves of cattail stencil that I was able to utilize. I used a masking film called Frisket. Traced the stencil, cut it all out by hand, did the black afterward. Little texture on the rim, a little gold gilding embellishment to frame it. But yeah, that's kind of some of the stuff that I do. Problems with wood and the heat. Depends. Sometimes, yeah. Storing, I have trouble storing fresh blanks. If I get fresh wood, I have to process it immediately, and if I don't, it's going to crack like crazy. So unfortunately, there's a lot of material on that big shelf down at the bottom that came to me fresh that I didn't have time to process. So it has split, and I'll have to bucket into smaller blanks boxes or tiny bowls or whatever. I'll end up using it all, I'm sure. But yeah, it can dry in a heartbeat and then crack like crazy. Because of the style of turning that I do, though, sometimes that actually works to my advantage. You know, that this was a piece of maple, and I turned it. I turned it a little wet, and I turned it very thin, and I want things to warp. I like it when it warps. So not only has it gone a little bit oval, but the rings are now skewed. So if this ring here at the bottom is at about 6 o'clock. This ring up here at the top's kind of kicked out a little bit, and that's just from the regular wood movement. So I don't worry about things warping. I encourage them to warp. I'm going to start doing some steam bending in the near future to create more warpage, because I guess I'm a warped person and that's what I like. Let's see, texturing tools. Somebody said something about texturing tools.
Yeah, what do
Pumped
you
wood.
use for texturing, Jeff?
The Sorby tools mainly, and I've got a drawer over there full of them. The large set, the small set. I personally own 3 full sets of each, so that I don't have to keep changing the cutters on the single handle. And but that's what I use primarily. I also use the Wagner style, the knurling tools. I've got the 3 different sizes and tooth patterns of the Wagner style. I've got the decorating elf. Not sure if that's, I think that's a global thing. Little decorating elf. It's got the little.
I think that's Hamlet, Jeff.
Yeah, I think it's Hamlet. So that it actually started over there, but I use that on occasion as well. But primarily, I'm using the Sorby large and small texturing tools.
Okay. What brand of ironizing paint did you use on the handle bowl, please?
The reactive metallic paints. I use and sell the Verde reactive metallic paint. Comes in a kit. Well, I sell it as a kit. There's an iron, a bronze, a brass, and a copper, plus a patina spray. So relics and artifacts, Verde reactive paint. Oh goodness, product placement. Sorry about that, but it was a legitimate question, so I'm answering a question, and that's all right. Yeah, you chastised me later on that.
I said the Hamlet texturing tool. It's Henry
Yeah.
Taylor. Thank you.
Henry Taylor Hamlet. It was not manufactured in the United States, but it's a great little tool. But the React, I like the Verde set best, and I've worked with a couple of different products, but I like the Verde paints the best, simply because I feel I have more control over the reaction. And with this one, if I want more color, like I do on this one side, if I want more intense color, I can spray heavier, and I will in general get a more intense color. With some of the other brands, especially the Metal Masters, which is what I started with, it's a lot more hit and miss, that I don't seem to have as much. I don't think I have as much control with the other ones, and I don't like that. I like having a little bit more control. David Buskill. Yes, David Buskill. He's asking Verde. That is the one. That is the booth that was next to my stand in Kansas City, Kansas, for the Kansas AAW Symposium in 2017. I had been working with her product, and she's actually retired. So she sold her company to another really nice couple, and they're still manufacturing. It's the same recipe, but oh gosh, what was her name? I can't remember her name, but she retired and sold her company. But yes, Verde, it's the same thing. Yeah. All right. So
there was a question at the start, Jeff, just before our friends joined us, and I got completely thrown, and I just realized I had it written down. The hand saws that you have hanging up there that you recently made a display out of, are they Hendry distant saws?
Are they what?
Distant hand saws.
Oh, Distin. There are no Distin saws were harmed in the making of my art piece. No, these were garage sale finds or flea market or antique mall finds. Most of them were actually like 70s vintage, late 60s, early 70s, and they were all pretty much damaged beyond their own use. Some of them really rusty and pitted on the side that you don't see. All of the handles are a mess. They would have needed an enormous amount of attention to make them functional again, and it really wasn't worth it. So turning them into a nice art piece, no problem. I don't care if they rust. I'm encouraging that. They just got rained on, so it's all fine. But no, I have a couple of Distons, a couple of vintage Distons, and they are properly stored until I have the time to actively restore them and put them back to use. So
Uh,
nobody get mad at me about the sauce.
No, that's great, Jeff. We no more questions. There's just a couple of minutes there if anybody wants to fill in. But just while if there is anybody wanting to send a question there, I wanted to say thanks to Jeff for giving us his time on this because I know he's a busy man. And Jeff's
Yeah.
websites, if Jeff would mention them again when we're done, all the products that he sells and whatever, support these guys. They're making their living from it. They're in lockdown with no students, so help these people where you can. So, Jeff, give me your details again, please.
Yeah, the supply website, if you're in the United States, it's www.thewalnutlog.com. Oh, I'll tell you the Walnut Log story here before we get out of here. And then my personal artist page is www.jeffhornung.com. And let's see, there's my name down at the bottom. JEFFHORNUNG.com. You can just go peruse some of my work. My contact information is on both of those websites. You can email me. You can call me direct because my personal phone number is listed. And if you want me to come out and demonstrate for virtually or in person at some point, that'd be fine. But real quick, before we get out of here, the story of the walnut log, because this is a good story too. And I had the log out when we were doing some of the working earlier a couple of weeks ago. It's currently tucked away in a corner, so I can't show it to you. But back in the 50s and 60s, my grandfather had a farm in Arkansas here in the States, and he did pigs and chickens and some hogs and some low level crop growing, nothing in particular. He's doing it more for his own enjoyment and self-sustenance than anything. But he had a walnut grove on the back part of his acreage, and it was down in a valley area, wetlands. And one day he had a logging company come in and harvest the wood, and he sold most of it, but he kept one piece that was about, I don't know, 18 inches wide, a good 8 inches thick minimum, 4 or 5 foot long, tall stump. It's actually a piece of stump. And his plan was to let it dry naturally and then cut it up and turn it into a pair of matching gun stocks. He never got around to doing that. And the log ended up in the back of my mom's garage here in St. Louis. And when we were kids, it was my brother and I, and we were absolutely forbidden to touch, cut, carve, hack, paint, move, damage, look at, breathe on my grandfather's walnut stump under fear of death from him, because he probably would have killed me. And so we left it alone. It was covered by old vinyl tablecloths for decades, multiple decades. And he passed away in 1984. If that gives you any indication. So it's been there. It had been there a long time. And like I said, I've only been turning a little over 8 years now. So when I started turning, my mom, after I was getting ready for my first craft show, and my mom said, "Hey, this walnut thing of your grandfather's, you're a woodworker now. It belongs to you. Get it the heck out of my garage." So I went back there. I was expecting it to be rotten or punky or just bad, because it'd been in there for 40, 50 years or whatever. And drug it out and almost gave myself a hernia trying to put it in the back of my truck, because it was so dry, so dense, unbelievably heavy. brought it home, tried to cut some pieces off of it to make some pens for the family, and it was almost like petrified. So it just kind of laid here in the middle of the walkway while I tried to figure out how the heck I'm going to cut some pieces off so that I can make some pens. And I was stomping out the door late for work that morning, and thinking about, oh, I got a craft show in a couple of weeks. I got to make business cards. I needed some kind of business name. Buy Jeff's stuff is probably not a good business name. I need something, cool, pithy, catchy, whatever. Anyway, so I tripped over the stupid log as it was laying on the floor. It's like, oh, the walnut log. There you go. There's your business name. Thanks, Grandpa. I appreciate that. So there is a walnut log. It came from my grandfather's farm. I still have it. I'm going to clean it up, turn it into a shelf. It will be a permanent fixture out here as a display piece. I'm not going to cut it up anymore. I'm not going to mess with it. I'm not going to ruin it. It will remain as it is, but I might put a nice shelf topper on it to make it functional. But yeah, that's the story of where the walnut log name came from. Anyway, so according to my clock here, I've burned my hour, and even though we had the interesting little incident right there in the middle, which I will edit out before I post this copy. Thank you all for having me. This has been a lot of fun. I've managed to watch some of these myself, and I'm going to stick around and watch the next one because it's fascinating to see how other people work, and maybe I'll be able to find something in somebody else's shop tour that's going to give me an advantage or give me a giggle. Maybe. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you saw something here that at least made you laugh. Thanks for having me, Pat. I really appreciate it. This has been fun.